Welcome, everyone. We are talking about monitoring indoor air quality for your health and for science during this SciStarter Live episode webinar that we're doing on Zoom. If you're joining us on Facebook or Zoom, we're happy to have you here. I'm actually going to drop my screen share to introduce our guest. Do that now. Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. It looks like we've got people from North Carolina and Arizona and Washington and Puerto Rico, so that's super cool. So hi, everybody. Glad to be here with you. As Emma mentioned, I am a program manager at Arizona State University. Our program, the AID Lab, is housed under the ASU College of School of Human Evolution and Social Change. And really what we do here is we work together to implement and develop community health programs and research initiatives that are aimed at improving the lives of individuals and communities. And so one of the really cool things that I've been able to get involved with is all things clean air. And so really excited to talk to you a little bit more about that today and how we came to join up and team up with SciStarter.
So thanks for introducing yourself. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again so you can carry on.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So here is a little bit more about the awesome team here at AID Lab. And so this is the Clean Indoor Air Initiative research team. And so we are sort of a subset of the kind of umbrella team, AID Lab. And we've got a really diverse group of individuals. Emma mentioned that I have a background in law. The director of our lab, she is an epidemiologist. We've got students, undergrad and graduate students in pursuing various different degrees and sort of looking to see how they might apply their particular expertise to public health. So that's really exciting. But we've got students in computer science and global health and biology and applied mathematics. And so really a very diverse sort of, disciplinary group team. So a little bit sort of about the background of how the Clean Indoor Air team came to be is, during 2020, during the pandemic, researchers and engineers, epidemiologists, they all sort of came together on Twitter and they started talking about what could be done to improve indoor air quality to sort of help slow the spread of the virus. And what really became apparent during that time as well is, yeah, super important to think about clean indoor air with regard to viral particles that are airborne viruses in our air, but also a host of other reasons, from wildfire smoke to pollutants to all kinds of reasons why we really think it's an important topic to be talking about. And so it was kind of a good conversation to come out of the pandemic. During that time, Dr. Corsi and Jim Rosenthal, they came up with a pretty cool design for a do-it-yourself portable air cleaner. And I've got one right here, and there'll be more on this later that we're going to share with you. And so this is sort of like an intervention, right? Something that we can bring into our indoor environment and sort of help improve our air quality. So again, more on that later. But then in 2022, our team got to building and distributing these boxes all throughout the state of Arizona. And we had teachers and principals and administrators of all different levels throughout the entire state kind of coming to us and asking us, what can we do to sort of make sure we keep our kids and keep school doors open and have a place to come in and learn every day. And part of the answer that we had was, well, we can help and we can build one of these together. And we hosted big events on our campus. And today I want to say, I think we've got about more than 500 or so of these Corsi Rosenthal or CR boxes that have been donated to communities and schools in need throughout the whole state. And so then we decided to kind of move forward from there, and we launched a CR box effectiveness study in K through 12 schools. So really looking at, okay, these CR boxes, we've studied them in labs and in very controlled environments, but there really hasn't been a ton of research looking at how well they do in a classroom, in a real world environment. And so we took that study on last year, and now we're really digging into those results and analyzing the data. And we've had the opportunity last year to partner with SciStarter and to really talk about one piece of really important information, which is carbon dioxide and how it acts as to identify indoor, like a signal, right? That can tell you, well, this space is poorly ventilated or well ventilated. And it's just one really important piece of information that we're excited to really hone in on and talk about more in detail today. Awesome. So as we kind of walk through this particular project, I'll give you a little bit of sort of the background. We started sort of big picture, and now we're kind of narrowing in a little bit about our partnership here with SciStarter. And so again, it's the ASU team partnering with SciStarter. We heard about the awesome, exciting citizen science initiatives that they have all over the nation and beyond, and we really wanted to be a part of that. So we're really grateful to them to kind of help get this project in motion. Right now, we have our Assessing Indoor Air Quality Library Kit, just sort of piloting in Arizona. And so we've got 31 libraries throughout the state that have these kits available. So if you're in Arizona, and it sounds like I think quite a few of you are, you can go and check out this kit, and we're going to tell you where you can go to do that. But don't worry, even if you're not in Arizona, we hope that you're going to find a lot of valuable information here today, and maybe find other ways that you can go and check out or find a CO2 monitor for you to use as well as you go out into different spaces and look at different air quality components. So why do we care about CO2 levels? Well, really, it's been shown that high levels, if you're in an environment indoors where you have consistently high levels of CO2, you can have brain fog and headaches and sleepiness and poor concentration, and also increased risk for the transmission of viruses. So measuring these CO2 levels is really the first step you can take to really be informed and have a little bit of information, so that if they are consistently high, if you're going to a space consistently, so that you're empowered to do what you can to sort of minimize your risk and to possibly really improve the CO2 levels and ventilation in any given space. So the kit that have been distributed across Arizona in these libraries includes quite a few things. We've got a little photo of it here, and then I'm going to kind of try to show you, because I've got a kit here myself where I can show you some of the different components. So this is kind of like let's see if I can get this. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see this. This is the AirNet, and this is the CO2 monitor. And what's really neat about this little device here is that it's going to tell you your CO2 concentration level. And right here it says 606 is our ppm, and we're going to get a little bit into some of what that all means and to put it into context. But as you can see, some things to think about, right? I'm in a room all by myself, so there aren't any other people here, and I don't have any windows open, I can tell you that. My door is closed, and so to put this into context, this is a pretty moderate CO2 level. This is good. I feel good about it. I don't feel like I need to be concerned. I don't feel like I need to put on a mask or go outside. I don't feel groggy or sleepy. And so this number sort of is confirming, that's part of probably why I'm feeling pretty good. It also tells you the humidity level and the temperature. So that's in our handy little kit. Also, we have a data field book, showing right here, and this is where we really have a cool component, and this is your citizen science for you, for our library kit users to be able to, when they're out and they're using the AirNet, they can complete this data collection piece, and then it continues on in the kit, and so it really becomes a cool crowdsourced compilation of data from all over the community in this book right here. And then there's also a way to do it online as well, which is really neat. We also have this Field Guide to Citizen Science book, which is in every kit, and it's full of all kinds of wonderful information and different ways to contribute to scientific research. And then we've got our activity guide, and our activity guide has all kinds of cool information, and each one of these kits has this document in there as well, and it's going to walk you through exactly how to take the readings, where to set it up, and really best practices to make sure that you are thinking about all the things you need to think about to get as accurate of data collection as you possibly can. And if we go back to the slides, I will see if I missed anything there. So then there's also a survey, and that's really designed to give us some feedback, and so that we can learn and improve upon the kit in the future. As I said, this is a pilot. We hope to have the opportunity to expand throughout other locations to make the kit even more accessible to everyday people. And then there's also a research consent form, because we are really interested in this data, and it can really help sort of inform policymakers and give us some information about where there might be certain spaces that really need some attention. And then the kit users can post their CO2 measurements on a crowdsourced map. And so here's just a couple of terms, and we'll just kind of go through this really quick. And there's a fun interactive piece sort of towards the end of our time here together. And I just wanted to make sure I was setting up everybody for success and kind of give you some context for that piece of it as well. So carbon dioxide, or CO2, it's a colorless gas that animals, including humans, breathe out and plants breathe in. So if you think about a really crowded space, sort of the more people, the more carbon dioxide you're going to have exhaled, right? And so that's just something to sort of think about as one piece of the puzzle when you're assessing your indoor air quality. If you're in a space and it's very crowded and there's a lot of people, chances are your number here is going to be much higher than mine at 667. ppm, or parts per million, that is the unit of measurement that we measure CO2 in. And so when you are using the AirNet, or when you're uploading any of your data into our data field book or online, you're going to see that number of ppm. And essentially we would say, okay, right now I'm in a room and the CO2 concentration is 667 ppm, or parts per million. And now ventilation is a term you are going to hear a bit today, and then also it's all throughout our materials when you check out a kit, because really what CO2 level is telling you is really telling you something about your ventilation, or the process by which air is moving in and out of a given room. Ventilation systems increase the delivery of clean air and dilute potential contaminants. So what CO2 is signaling to you, if the level is very high, is really, hey, you know what, your ventilation is not so great. There's not a turnover, right, of clean air, and so sort of sitting in sort of more of a stagnant air quality space. And there are things that you can do very easily to sort of automatically improve the ventilation in the space. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So some factors, well, I mentioned one, which is the number of people in a room. Also pets, right, contribute to that too, because pets exhale CO2 as well. The age of the building, the size of the building, the design of the building, all of those kinds of things. I mean, the reality is that, buildings today are not really built with air quality in mind. That's just sort of not something that we've seen in the past. Maybe we can hope that in the future, it becomes more of a guidepost or a guiding principle that is adopted at sort of every level, from public health to engineering, and to be this sort of interdisciplinary effort to really raise our standards across the board for improved air quality, whether you're talking about apartment buildings or schools or office buildings or movie theaters, right? Like all these places that we go all the time, they're really built for comfort, and they're really built, for physical safety and to sort of withstand temperatures and weather, but not so much with regard to what our indoor quality air, is looking like. So this is sort of an interesting thing too, that we sort of hope, you can all help us as scientists out there in the community gathering this information, because I think it's very impactful and potentially, right, has the ability to make some people who are in an authority position or might be interested in coming up with some new standards, right, for building construction and otherwise, that might be convinced by some of this data as we gather it all over the country, and really, because it's also kind of an effort that's going on throughout the world as well, in Canada and other places. So kind of a really interesting topic. But some other factors that affect CO2 are cleaning products, certain cleaning products, water heaters, smoking furnaces, indoor fireplaces. This is just, one little tip I'll give you, because before I worked on this project, it wasn't something I was really aware of. Depending on where you live, you might have a gas top stove for cooking. And a lot of people like that. A lot of people that like to cook like that. I know I certainly thought that it was a wonderful thing to have in my home. And, they are, but really important to put on your fan every single time you use your gas stove, because it is putting out an increased level of CO2. And so that's just, again, something to think about. If you're cooking a lot in a small space, you might think about opening a window to improve your ventilation. So that's just something to think about, in your own homes, some of the things that you can do to improve your air quality really immediately. So I kind of got a little ahead of myself here. So steps to improve ventilation. Number one, open a window. Now, if you are like me and Emma, and you are in Arizona, and like some of our guests today listening in Arizona, it has been way too hot to even think about opening a window. In fact, it's still too hot to think about opening a window. And oftentimes, if you're in a public space, you're not in a position where you can go around opening a window. There might not even be windows for you to open. So we recognize that, but that is one thing that you can do if possible, is you can open a window. Or if you're thinking about, well, where might I go? If I have options and I want to go, I'm giving a little bit of a teaser hint here for what's coming later. But if you're looking at various different options for an activity to go out, let's say on a Friday or a Saturday night or afternoon with your family, you might choose someplace that is outdoors, right, as opposed to indoors, or someplace that might have some ability to open up some windows. You want to keep your fans running, and then again, fewer people means cleaner air. And then we've got sort of an option, right? So if you're in an environment, or whether it's your home or whether it's an office space, like where I am today, where you're not really in like total control of revamping your entire system, right? There's one thing that you can do is you can go get yourself a portable air cleaner. This is a do-it-yourself one. I referenced it sort of at the very beginning of our time together today when I was introducing my team and sort of how we came to be. These are the DIY CR boxes that we built that are now across the state of Arizona in about 500 different classrooms. And it's, as you can see, I think you can maybe see, it's basically, this is a fan, a regular box fan that you can just buy at the store, like a Home Depot or a Target or something like that. These are MERV 13 filters. This is what's doing the job here of really filtering out the particulate matter in the air and sort of really helping to clean the air. So for that improved turnover of air exchange that I mentioned before. So bringing in this intervention has the effect of improving ventilation because it is cleaning air as it's coming in through the filters and up through the top, and so it's bringing in the cleaner air. So it's kind of like mimicking, in a way, what would naturally happen if I were able to open a window or door to a larger outdoor space to bring in that fresh air. This is something that you can do to bring in to your environment to sort of mimic what is happening when you're able to actually open a window. Great best case scenario is you could have a couple of these running and then also some windows open in a space if you did have a lot of individuals in there and you were looking for ways to improve the ventilation. And so we're going to have more information about the CR box and how you can build your own, what exact supplies you might need to do it. But one of these can basically be put together in about an hour and a half for a cost of about $80. We've had kids as young as 4th, 5th grade build these in classrooms and put them together. So they're pretty simple. And again, we've got lots of resources that we're going to share with you if you are interested in building one of these units for your office space, your classroom, your home, or anything like that. It's also a really fun activity to do with students and with kids. Again, that's something that we've been doing all last year and are continuing to do this year. There's a lot of STEM lesson plans and really cool hands-on learning that can go into building an activity like this. So if you're a teacher or a parent, or you need to come up with a cool science experiment for the science fair this year, we have resources for you. Okay, and so kind of on that note, this is a really cool moving from the CR boxes back into our CO2 monitor kit. If you're in Arizona and you want to go and check out one of these kits, we would love for you to do that. If you are able to, you can scan that QR code. There's also a link in the chat right now that's going to show you all the participating libraries. And what you do is you literally just go and you check. They're going to hand you, just like this here, it's going to have all the materials that we went over before, including all the instructions on how to get started. And then we'd love for you to share your data with us. And again, this is a really cool and fun activity for students. My 5th grader, he needed a quick and easy science demonstration for his classroom. Of course, he didn't tell me until like 2 days before. And I said, well, that's good. I've got one trick and it's clean indoor air. So that's what we're going to do. And he brought in his AirNet monitor we brought into the classroom, and it was really an interesting conversation. And the kids were really excited to learn about the different things, the different factors that affect your CO2 level. And so they opened a window, then they shut the window, then they all breathed on it, and then they put it in a bag. And so they really got into it. And I think that there's a lot of interesting fun activities that can be had, whether you're, kind of just a parent and you're looking for something, to do with your kiddo on the weekend that kind of feels like productive and fun. You can go from, you can go to the gym, or you can go to the community pool, or you can go to, grandma's house or the movie theater or a restaurant and sort of compare and talk about with your kids, the different CO2 levels and the things that might be affecting it. And also, again, if you're a teacher and you're interested in, taking out one of these CO2 monitors from your local library, we have all kinds of fun resources that we can share with you to help facilitate a really cool learning, hands-on learning experience for students in the classroom. And this is that Google map showing you where all the libraries are right here in Arizona. So you can definitely take a look at that and put in your address and see which library is closest to you. Okay, now I promised that we were going to have an interactive component of our show here today. So I really want to thank Emma for her help in getting this together so that we can kind of all get involved here and take some more Zoom polls. Who doesn't like a good Zoom poll? And so we're going to get started. And what we're essentially going to do is I'm going to show you here on the screen a series of photos. And they're going to show you different public spaces, and kind of based upon, what you're bringing here today, your own knowledge, your own background, and maybe hopefully something new that maybe you learned today, take that into consideration. And we're going to go through and see if we can't match the public space to the correct CO2 reading. Okay, so here is our first picture. What you're looking at here is a CO2 measurement that was taken on a dance floor, and I'm going to highlight the fact that it was an outdoor dance floor, which I have never been to an outdoor dance floor, so I definitely need to figure out where this is. If anyone knows, please let me know. Oh, it looks like maybe Crescent Ballroom, because I can kind of see that in the background. But if you want to take a guess here, or an educated guess as to what you think the CO2 concentration was at the outdoor dance floor, and then here's just for some reference your CO2 concentration guidelines. That might help a little bit. We really are, as a sort of overarching, guide, if you just keep in one number in mind, 1,000. So an ideal CO2 level for your environment is going to be under 1,000. So just to kind of maybe put some context. Let's see what everyone thinks.
Ooh, waiting a couple more seconds here. I opened the poll, so you should be visible. We got about half of the individuals participating so far. A couple more of you. See, also, I can confirm it was Crescent Ballroom.
Okay. So, I mean, if you're thinking about, I'm kind of giving away an answer here a little bit, but if you're thinking about, what are some safer activities, right, that you can do? Well, apparently you can go to Crescent Ballroom and go to the outdoor dance floor. So that's kind of great, as long as it's not 120 degrees.
Right.
Then we have different public health issues we have to consider.
Here is what they think so far.
Okay, well, so it looks like 40% are coming in at $4.99. Let's take a look and see if you were right. $4.99. Awesome. Right on. So you know what? That's even better, right? That's way better than me sitting here by myself in my office. My AirNet is reading $6.19 right now.
Wow. Yeah, that is considerably different too.
Right. Okay, so all right, you guys did really, really, really well on the first one. Let's see if we can continue the wins here. What is the CO2 concentration level at a grocery store? Now, I will share with you, I'll give you a little bit more information that maybe will be helpful because this was me. This was like a local Whole Foods. It was not very crowded. It was probably on a downtime. I tend to, if at all possible, right, make choices like that, again, with thinking in mind air quality, right? And we're in the flu season, and we know that there's like a lot of viruses or colds going around. You might not be able to obviously 100% control everywhere that you need to go, but if there's an opportunity for you to maybe go frequent your grocery store, run your errands during a time where maybe it's less populated, again, a really big factor that is contributing to an increased level of CO2 is people, a lot of people. So I tend to go at times where I know it's going to be a little bit quieter. And so it was probably like me in an aisle all by myself, not too many people there, just to kind of help give you a little bit more context for this picture. Because certainly if you were at a grocery store and it was like, holiday weekend like Labor Day and everybody's there and they're grabbing all their, barbecue supplies, I would think we would probably have a very different outcome.
Yeah, probably. We got maybe one more person to add their thoughts and then we'll close the poll. 3, 2, 1. All right. Really split on this one, actually. Let's share that one.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like, so Emma, can everybody see the answers? Like the poll answers, percentages?
I have it sharing. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, so I don't need to repeat it all, but yes. Oh, wow, yeah, look at the split. It's split top answer at the 1,117 and at 620, and then the second split at 485 and 799. That's super interesting. Okay, let's see who's right. 620. Yeah, so again, I think that this makes sense to me that this would be so split, because I would imagine, and I'll have to go and do my own little experiment. I'll have to go on a crowded, time frame at my local grocery store and see if it's a big difference. But I think that really makes sense that we would have a split like that, because I think that the fact that there was just so few people that happened to be in this space is really why we had such a low reading. But again, it shows you, if you can sort of think about, what sort of actions or can you take that might, again, decrease your risk for, being in an environment that has low or high CO2 levels.
Yeah. Oop, there we go.
Okay, so now we're at an indoor mall, and I know that there are like very few of those left in Arizona, but I think this was Fashion Square for our local people here. And so what do we think the CO2 concentration was at an indoor mall?
Was it busy at the time you were there?
I don't know that it was busy, but I think that the kit user was sort of like, in like the main area when she took this, like she wasn't in a store, in other words, like she was kind of more in like the common space area, for whatever that's worth. But I don't think, it's such a large place. I don't think it was super busy, but I'm not totally certain.
Okay.
Question.
Wait, 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. 100% participation, and it's all split again.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, we've got a third, and a third at the 3 highest levels, which makes a lot of sense. So this is our, I think our worst one so far, right? Our highest level anyway of CO2 at the 1,117. And so, yeah, in some ways this kind of makes sense, right? We don't have a total sense of how many people were there necessarily, but we can probably guess. Ventilation wasn't super great. But again, we're not in like a danger zone here where, you want to run out of the building or anything like that. But again, you might just think about steps to improve ventilation. You might wear a mask if that's something that you want to do. If it's, especially again, if it's like a high flu virus time, or if you're going to be there for a long time or something like that. Or you could certainly, again, look to see, well, if it was a really busy time, were there other times of day that maybe you could go if that was something that you wanted to do. But again, this seems pretty right on this level, I would say. And it would be interesting again to sort of test these things, right, at different times of day and different spaces. And you can do that if you check out your CO2 monitoring kit from the local library, and you can kind of go explore. You probably get a lot of data just in the mall itself.
Absolutely. Too many different places.
Yeah. So, okay, you guys were like really just amazed and so well at all those questions. We're going to take it a little bit to the next level, and we're going to look at, okay, well, what do you think the difference in CO2 concentration level might be at these 2 restaurants? And so in restaurant A, and that's where our adorable kiddo there is posing with his AirNet, and he's seated inside a busy restaurant with no windows or doors open, right? So ventilation, that tells us something about ventilation. We've got no windows and no doors open. And then we've got restaurant B, where we have people are seated inside. It's also a busy restaurant, but as you can see, even from the photo here, it's right, one of these spaces that has the big outdoor opening with windows and doors open. And so again, that tells you something about their potential ventilation, which tells you something about what their CO2 their CO2 levels might be. So This one again is looking at what do we think the difference is between the two restaurants?
I love watching the answers come in because someone was very sure of themselves and was like, yes.
Boom, just right away.
Whoever that was, awesome job. We'll wait a couple more seconds here. 3 different options. Restaurant A is more, restaurant B is more, restaurant A is more, but by more. Lots of words in these ones.
Yes, I know. We'll give everybody an extra second. It's a little wordy.
All right, we got everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. Awesome. Okay. Seems like there is
What
some
do we do on our last question?
good ideas.
Okay, so 57% with the top answer here is restaurant A's levels were 419 ppm more than restaurant B, and then coming in second is restaurant A's CO2 level were 103 ppm more than restaurant B, and nobody chose the restaurant B's levels were 221 ppm more. So we didn't get anybody with that one. So there's 100% consensus, right? We all agree that restaurant A's CO2 levels are higher than restaurant B, and for all the reasons we've kind of talked about and hit on today. It really, I think, becomes clear when you look at these two different scenarios where the only difference is, right, access to fresh air coming in. Even in because this was recent. This was a recent photo of the restaurant B. So it was pretty hot out. I want to say it was probably like 110 or something like that. But still, right, big difference. And so let's see who was right, if it was number 1 or number 3. And it's C. So restaurant A's level were 119 CO2 ppm more than restaurant B. So again, just something to think about, right? When you're choosing, where you want to eat or where you want to go. Just one piece of information that might be helpful to consider if you're interested. And I assume all of you are interested because you're all here today, and that sort of thing. You can make choices that really are in your own best interest and the interest of others. With just a little AirNet really kind of goes a long way and gives you so much information.
Absolutely. I find these so interesting. I really want to just take one to every coffee shop I visit just to scare myself, essentially.
Well, yeah, I know. It's super interesting. And then the other thing I'm going to just remind everybody too is like in our kit here, right? There's a take action whole section. And so, again, recognizing that you don't always have total control, right? When you go visit an establishment to sort of tell them how to do things, but there are tips and different things that you can do. And if you wanted to bring some awareness to a restaurant owner politely or something like that, we've got some resources to sort of help you do that. And so, yeah, just another reason why I think that this kit is really pretty cool is because it's like you have the information, and then we're hoping you'll share the information so that we can come up with more take action kind of tips. But if nothing else, there are definitely some really interesting ideas about what sort of action you can take. And so, Emma, with that, it looks like we have one question. Should we go to that now, or?
Yes, well, there's
Okay.
2 questions actually, because one in our Q&A there's one, but also in our chat, someone from Facebook, hi Tara, or Tara, not positive. Do you have any CO2 numbers taken from schools? Do you have any record or thoughts, or do you remember any of the numbers from what has been seen?
That's such a good question. And this, I know, has been a really popular topic among parents, right? For honestly, going on a year or more now since we had the pandemic, right? Just and started thinking about and talking about air quality. I will say that we have we do have some CO2 numbers taken from schools. I don't think that we have them though officially through the library kit program, unless some new data has come in. But we do have data from sort of other, the other sort of research initiatives that our team has been involved in. And I think that it's really a really interesting thing to be looking at. I would say that, those numbers tend to be pretty high, right? And in part, it's all the reasons that we talked about, right? I mean, you've got a lot of students in one space, oftentimes, right? Because of the way that school buildings now are designed, right? With an eye towards security and, safety from any outside intruders, that sort of thing. We don't have windows typically. I know in Arizona we don't oftentimes have a lot of windows or doors open, and so so those levels tend to be pretty high. And so again, this is where we sort of hope for to address at some point some of the gaps in guidance for administrators and for, again, like when these schools are built in the very first place, right? Like, are there like cost efficient ways to go about really just incorporating air quality into the design. And so, yeah, so I also know that there were parents at one point in time that were, really interested in this, and there was a whole dialogue online talking about, sharing some of that information in their classroom. So I think it's a really interesting space, and I think, again, because we're talking about kiddos, right, who are developing, and super important things to consider, right? We don't want kids when they're taking their tests to feel foggy or have headaches, right? We don't want them to ever feel like that, but especially we don't want it to impede upon their academic performance and ability to grow and learn. And so, Tara, that's a really great question. And I would say, from what I've seen, they have been definitely higher than most of the readings we looked at in our public space question Q&A today and our polls today. And most of them sort of in that yellow and even sometimes in the red zone.
Yeah, not a good situation for wanting to be in an educational scenario, right? So
yeah,
to be able to be aware of those things.
It's an important conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was a teacher, during when we first got back to campus after being isolated, we put a ton of, or they switched out all the filters essentially. And so that was a big moment of like, oh, yay, we finally have better filters. And that was a big deal. So I'm glad they had the initial jump to do that before I had known about any of these things. So
yeah, well, like the HVAC systems that we have in a lot of our buildings, right, and making sure that they're using like the highest grade filter, like those are questions you can certainly, as a concerned community member or parent, you can certainly ask those questions of your school facilities individuals. That I think you can get a lot of information there too, and a lot of the schools again, from COVID on, they have invested, right, in upgrading and changing out more frequently those filters, and all of that, again, contributes to, improved air ventilation.
Yeah, awesome. There were a few questions in the Q&A, and I just want to specify, because I won't be spending too much time answering those, but there were questions about heat and protecting the environment and humans together. Just for reference, we're contextualized in Arizona in the United States, so it's very, very hot here in general during the summer, and it's currently supposed to get over, it's like 102 degrees today, and we had like our low is in the 90s for like a week we had last week after monsoon. So just keep that in mind too when we're talking about these really high temperatures. Depending on where you are, it's going to be different. So just for anyone who is curious about, wow, those are insane temperatures, you are correct, but it is Arizona. So keep that in mind as well. So in the fall, it is still hot through October, probably. I remember it being like, you don't wear a sweater on Halloween. So there are times. So if you're interested in heat and how that affects humans too, maybe there'll be a time to talk about that down the line with a different project. And you can also look into it as well, because there's lots of data, especially from Arizona, asking about those types of things too. So absolutely. Awesome. There is also a couple in the chat that I just wanted to mention about, and Tara, thank you so much for adding more. Co-founder of Indoor Air Care Advocates, and schools are the primary areas. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for being a part of that. Cool.
Yay, thank you, Tara. That is phenomenal. I think actually maybe we might be connecting, I think, hopefully in the future. So thank you for your great work and for your advocacy, and yeah, the tremendous work you all are doing. So we appreciate you.
Awesome. All right, I'll go ahead and move us forward a bit. So I'm going to share my screen again and just share a couple of resources with you all. So we talked about a lot of things, but we came up with 4 main links that'll be the most useful for you all listening in, and this will be in the follow-up email as well. So to find more information about the CO2 kit, if you wanted to look into if you are near one in Arizona, or if you just want to know what's in it, because these are not like materials. The materials we use, some of it is unique to the group that created the project, but you can like adapt them for your own purposes too if you want to look into the AeroNet. So if you want it for personal use, or if you're a teacher and want to look into getting a grant to support you sourcing one for your school, those are all options. So we do have the advice before it is the national rollout of the pilot program. So you can look at that on SciStarter.org/CO2. You can also find the libraries in Arizona at SciStarter.org/library-locations in addition to that map that we sent. And then the biggest resource for learning about this project as a whole, and also the CR box and how to make one, you can go to the shesk.asu.edu centers/clean indoor air. And that is actually, I will show you what that one looks like right here. School of Human Evolution and Social Change. I hope you can see this. Let's double check. Yep. Awesome. Yeah. So if you head here, you can get a lot more information. There's all kinds of stuff on here. And then lastly, if you want to share knowledge with teachers and educators, there is a flyer for you to use that will show up maybe. Yeah. So you can share this with teachers that you have in your network or anyone that might be interested in sharing it along as well, or any homeschoolers out there. Happy to share that with you all too. Awesome. All right, I'll go ahead and go to the next one and we'll cover any leftover questions because we did answer a few already. Anything else to know about the resources, by the way, Jessica?
Nope. I think yeah, if you're interested in this topic, definitely pop around on our website, that Clean Indoor Air website. We've got constantly sort of updating and bringing in more resources. Like I said, we're working on some K through 12 lesson plans to really help engage students in the conversation, because we think it's a really great opportunity for this intersection of problem solving and engineering and science and really just kind of hands-on learning. And so you can pop back over there as we continue to update and share more resources and information.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been nice. I made one of the CR boxes for my parents and I made my dad help me. But I was hoping that our little cousins would be over to help because I had planned it along a weekend that they could help, and then didn't end up being there. But I have to say it would have been perfect to just have them busy with something that's really purposeful and teaches them a lot about something that's really exciting to do hands-on activity for. So very fair. Useful in a classroom. There are the social media, handles, tags that you that you can use. And I listed those there. Oh, thank you, Roland. Roland's dropping them in the chat for you as well to make it easier to grab. But you can follow them both, one on Instagram and one on Twitter. That is now X. Fun stuff. Anything else to add about that one? I don't think there were any other questions listed for us.
Yeah, come follow us on Instagram. We finally kind of got going and want everybody to sort of join in on the conversation. And so it's kind of a cool place where, we share different opportunities for involvement. If you're interested in public health field opportunities, that sort of thing. And also just, different resources, different facts, different projects that are going on, links to, to build DIY CR boxes and all kinds of other fun stuff. So hope to see you over on our Aid Lab Instagram account.
Awesome. All right, then, and that's the case and there aren't any more questions, feel free if there are questions to keep asking them. But in the meantime, I will close this out and have us end this meeting. So just as a quick update for upcoming events, we have next week, we're going to be talking about gaming. There's a bunch of different projects through SciStarter or on SciStarter that are citizen science projects that involve gaming. So if any of you are particularly fond of video games, feel free to join. And if not, join anyway, because it'll be fun. The September 19th, instead of doing our regular event at 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll be talking later in the evening at 7 p.m. For the Prepare for the Eclipses event. That's a special Do NASA Science Live special event. You can sign up for it by registering through this QR code or QR code, excuse me. Now I'm just thinking CR constantly. This QR code, and you can use that to register. I'll keep it on this screen for a moment. As usual, you can reach out to us in any way. For info@scistarter.org is our main address for sending us questions. And we have 100 other resources on SciStarter to help you get started with anything. And if you have any questions, there are multiple ways to get those questions answered by the project leaders or by the SciStarter team. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us for this one. I really enjoyed hearing the background for how this got started, especially because I didn't necessarily get to hear that when we first started the partnership. So I'm glad it's been going so well and you've been so impactful in so many schools around Arizona too.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your great work. Thanks for your partnership. And this is a really fun experience for me today. So thanks to everyone for participating and for joining in on the interactive poll and conversation. It was great fun.
And 100% responses, by the way. That doesn't happen very often, friends who are online with us. So thank you. Appreciate it. Here is that list of resources for you. And we hope to see you next week. So thank you all so much. And we'll go ahead and close that out. Last questions and we will, nope, no last questions. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.